All right, welcome in on this Sunday night to the Rebel Report. My name is Michael Borky. Really appreciate you guys being here. If you missed the immediate post-game reaction to the Washington State game, don't forget to check that out. We did that yesterday after the game. I've got one more thought on that game as we move forward to Ole Miss at Georgia. College game day coming to Athens for that one. And we'll do a lot of previewing, as you can imagine, this week going into that one. So I'm really glad that you guys are here after an outstanding weekend in college football. And I've said this before, but I'm going to say it again to you guys because I always do. There is a lot of crap around college football, just a whole lot of crap around college football, right? The transfer portal and all that, the unregulated money, the College Sports Commission and this BS clearinghouse thing that's not working, and it's just all a mess. Bills and Congress and a bunch of garbage. And now you've got these ads running from a billionaire saying, please implore Congress to pass this act because we have to save women's sports. The same weekend that Penn State is spending $50 million on James Franklin to go away. I wonder how many women's scholarships in women's sports could be funded with $50 million. The hypocrisy of that just kind of cracks me up. But anyway, all of that happening around college sport or college football in particular sucks. And it's hard to consume and it's frustrating or whatever. When the actual football happens, it is awesome still. And this weekend, yet another example of how great this sport is. Even in this era, you had incredible games. You had awesome storylines. You had upsets. You have this thing at Oklahoma State where one guy takes his shirt off and he's swinging it in the air, and then suddenly two sections of shirtless dudes swinging their shirts in the air just fill up three sections at Oklahoma State's stadium. I mean, you have it all still. So if you can find a way to just ignore all the stuff around it, the actual football is unbelievable, and the parity is real. Look at what Indiana just did to Oregon this weekend. It's unbelievable what the actual football has been so far this season. I hope you guys are enjoying it, and I'm glad that you are here. Again, I've got one more thought on Ole Miss, Washington State, and then we'll get to your comments and talk about the weekend that was in college football. After I invite you to subscribe wherever you get your podcast, just search Rebel Report and subscribe and leave a rating and a review right here on YouTube as well. Subscribe, leave a comment, like all that good stuff. Would really appreciate you guys doing all of that. And check out Toyota of Brookhaven. If you are in the market for a new vehicle and you want to shop with somebody that will actually take care of you like you're a human being, that's the place to go. They're off Exit 40 in the great city or town or somewhere in between of Brookhaven. Right in southwest Mississippi. And you don't have to live in Brookhaven to get a great car buying experience. Check out their online inventory at toyotaofbrookhaven.com because, again, you want to buy from somebody that will actually take care of you, even if they're not necessarily in your backyard. And also, they'll give you $1,000 off the top on me on any in-stock new Toyota because Toyota of Brookhaven will take care of you. All right. I've been thinking a lot today about sample sizes. That's kind of the phrase that I'm going to use on the radio show tomorrow, really. I sometimes I bring takes here, and if you guys receive it well, I'll bring it to the significantly larger audience on the radio show. And I think I'm going to land on sample size because it's hard to react to the game that just happened for Ole Miss. We talked about it yesterday. It's hard to look at the way they played and feel good about the way they played. But it's hard, I think it should be hard to look at the way they played and think that that is what they are at the same time. Each game is different from the other. I mean, speaking of Oregon's team was awesome a year ago, and they probably should have lost to Idaho at home. I mean, the games like that happen. So when you're looking at yesterday's performance, to me, the big thing that stands out is sample size. It also, you can apply this in direct context to the quarterback situation as well, because you have sample size of Trinidad Chambliss in 4 starts as the quarterback at Ole Miss and Austin Simmons in 2 starts as the quarterback at Ole Miss. And in 3 of the 4 starts, Trinidad Chambliss has played at an extremely high level. 2 games ago, he absolutely shredded Blake Baker and that LSU defense for 20 passing yards and 70 rushing yards or whatever it was in the game. Absolutely shredded him. Great throws, on time, accurate, using his legs, everything. He was exceptional in that game. And you saw late last night that LSU defense is legitimate. I don't know why people, after Ole Miss beats them, just decided, well, LSU sucks. They're just so bad defensively because they lost a game on the road at Lane Kiffin's Ole Miss. That never really made sense to me. It was kind of a stupid talking point. Defensively, LSU is legitimate. 2 games ago, he absolutely cooked that defense. The other 2 games before yesterday, he was spectacular. And against the worst team he's played so far, he had a really bad game and a game in which everybody on his team, with the exception of Kejuan Lacey, was off. The sample size of what he can do is larger good than bad. But I don't like that. I don't like the concept of throwing away everything that you know because yesterday wasn't perfect. I don't like that. It doesn't make sense to me, to be honest with you, especially when the sample size that you do have is better than the other guy that people are talking about. It just doesn't make sense to me. Are there things that Simmons can do that Trinidad can't vertically? Yes, there are. But what you have, sample size wise, tells you that what Simmons has put on the field could not have done to LSU what Trinidad did. Could not, what you have actually seen on the field could not have done that. So I want to apply that to the actual team itself. I think it's very easy to look at what they've done, specifically offensively, all season long. And they've played 6 games. And even in the Kentucky game where Austin Simmons threw 2 interceptions and dug themselves into a hole in the first quarter, they scored 31 points in the final 3 quarters. A good day offensively. They have played 5 of 6 games with high-level offense, moving the football with consistency, running the football, a good passing attack, and everything, right? Quality quarterback play against Arkansas, Tulane, and LSU especially. But you have 5 games of quality offense in 1 game with a morning kickoff, with Georgia coming up next, kind of a sleepy environment where they didn't click. So what do you think that this offense actually is? Do you think it's the one that played the first 5 games of the season? Or do you think it's the one that played yesterday against the second worst team that they've played this season? Significantly worse, I think, than even Tulane, but Arkansas and LSU and even Kentucky. So, especially if you compare Kentucky's defense to Washington State's defense, Kentucky's significantly better there. So, right now anyway, unless something changes, which it could, you have to recalibrate what you think about football teams as the season goes on. But, Maverick's having a bad dream. Hey, Bubba. You're okay. Did you guys hear that? He was having a bad dream. I hate that. Hey, Bubba. He's a good dog. Anyway, if you have a sample size of 6 games and 5 of them played high-level offense, 1 of them did not against a bad team on a sleepy environment with Georgia coming up next, which one do you think the team actually is? Until proven otherwise, I'm going to err on the side of they were looking ahead because you have seen on paper them play much better offense against much better teams this season. So it's easy to be uncomfortable with how they played. You should be uncomfortable with how they played, but I do think that was more of the outlier than the rule when it comes to this team, specifically with this offense. We'll get to your comments to talk about the weekend that was around college football after I tell you the podcast is brought to you in part by Advantage Business Systems. If you're a Mississippi business, anywhere in Mississippi, they're based in Jackson, but they'll take care of you anywhere, and you need office technology. Technology in the office, anything from copiers and printers and mail machines to cloud storage, data security, whatever it is. If it's tech in the office, absms.com is the website. Tell them I sent you. You'll get an assessment on me. absms.com. Also, Priority One Bank, to make you their priority every day, every single day with their online banking platform. Also, local loan servicing and decision-making. There's 16 locations here in Mississippi. So check them out at Priority One Bank. Bank with me at Priority One Bank. So about the game yesterday, just don't think you can take that much away other than they obviously weren't up to play at a high level. I think that is abundantly clear at this point as well, especially giving yourself a full 24 hours to think about it. They weren't ready to play yesterday. They should have been ready to play yesterday. I like I said yesterday, I liked Lane Kiffin's quote that apparently he said to his team, I get paid too much, the coaching staff gets paid too much, and you get paid too much to put out a performance like that. I really liked that from Kiffin, even though he did fan shame, and I don't like that part of it. But he's exactly right. He does get paid too much for the team to look like that. The team gets paid too much to play like that. And there are no amount of empty seats in the student section that should change your mind about they get paid too much to perform the way they did yesterday. Now, they're not football playing robots, they're human beings. Probably, if not, they were definitely looking ahead to Georgia and got caught sleeping, and Washington State took advantage, and good on them for that. But yeah, they weren't ready to play yesterday, and they survived. Hope they play like they did versus LSU instead of Washington State. I feel like it's going to be a little bit easier to get up for Georgia than it was in this one. Like the messaging afterwards, that's what we should hear from Kiffin and the players. I agree. Coming out of a bye week with Georgia looming, we can give them a pass. Yes, the student section was a bad look yesterday, but why criticize the fans when the team doesn't show up either? It's a default thing. I don't like it. The students currently at Ole Miss are spoiled freaking rotten, is what they are. I mean, there's an older audience here that has been through worse than even my generation went through. But I mean, you've got people that sat through games in the Orgeron era, and there's a lot of tall tales told about the student section. Oh, it was packed for every game until now. No, it wasn't. Mm-mm. I went to an Ole Miss Troy game when I was a student where I walked into the stadium at kickoff and I sat 5 rows from the front. So no, the student section has not been packed in full and stayed the whole time for every game. That is a myth. I don't know why people repeat that because it's not true. It's never been true. Ever, ever, ever been true. Never. Leaving at halftime has been a thing in that student section and others, especially for uninspiring opponents forever. But for the number 4 team in the country in a close game, it should not have exited like that. What do you do about it? I think I've already talked about this before. I don't know how Ole Miss does not have a rewards and a punishment system for student attendance. Instead of just like the random lottery thing that they did for tickets, I think there should be some kind of loyalty program where if you go to basketball games, if you go to baseball games, if you go to soccer games, you get priority points and you can go to the game, like you get special perks and privileges, and the gate opens for you 20 minutes earlier than the regular gate or something. Just the way they did it, I think, was asking for a student section situation like the one that they got Saturday. And also, when you have the volume of out-of-state students that they get, they're not as loyal right away to their institution. Maybe that's part of it too. There's a lot of things. I mean, LSU student section cleared out yesterday in a 1-score SEC game at night. And remember, we just got to make every LSU game at night. So it's not a problem unique to Ole Miss, but current Ole Miss students are spoiled rotten. Basketball program's in outstanding shape. Baseball just hosted a regional again. I know it crashed and burned, but they hosted a regional again. And football is in its most successful era since the 60s. They are spoiled rotten. They don't know what they have till it's gone. And it should look better than that, but I'm not a fan shamer. Clean. There's an old saying that, make sure your house is clean first before you start. I don't know the exact expression, but it's make sure your house is clean before you criticize the cleanliness of somebody else's. If the football team showed up and played great for 4 quarters, then yeah, whining about the student section would make sense to me. But your team didn't play well. Get your team right first before you start complaining about the students. But anyway. Ed Orgeron could be in the mix somewhere soon, you think? I think that would be a mistake for whoever would hire him as a head coach. Section was for sure disappointing. Thought it was a lack of doing small things right and also not taking points early that bit them. Ball movement was fine. Defense also had multiple issues of communication with bust and coverage. Yes, they did. Yeah, I saw what you're talking about, James. I am firm on my stance that I am not going to talk about positively or negatively the children of the football coach. I don't think that's what I need to do. It's just not my thing. Was a little warm with the crowd wearing Navy for a noon game. Defensive line was good late, but they should have had more sacks. It's an issue every week. Prince Will, Franklin, and Eccles all had their moments. It is a problem for that defensive line. They get there and cannot complete the play, and it's a problem. Good news is Kewan Lacey's a dude. 4th and 1, probably the play of the game, and he's a young player too. Yeah, he's been awesome. It's just I'm concerned that they're using him too much. And a game like that should have been an opportunity to get him some rest, and they couldn't. Part of you is happy Washington State played a competitive game. That massive fans who traveled deserve good things. Nice people. Yeah, they do. I mean, they've gotten completely screwed by the current state of college football. Is it possible that if Chambliss doesn't play well at Georgia, then Simmons would start against Oklahoma? Yes, that is possible. That is possible. Yes. I don't think Trinidad's going to have the quick. I could be totally off on this. This is just I think. I'm not doing I don't have sources or whatever. I don't think that there will be some kind of if they go 3 and out on their first possession, here comes Simmons thing. That doesn't make sense either at all, to be honest with you, in my opinion. But yeah, if he plays poorly and it goes poorly, I would not be surprised if they turn to Simmons. But there's other stuff at play here. One, he's played really well against better teams. It's an off game. That's allowed to happen. What's not fair is expecting perfection from Trinidad, but excusing the lack of perfection from Simmons. Those two things don't match up. They don't match up at all. Lots of compliments from the Washington State people on how awesome the Grove is. Yeah, it looks like they had a really good time. They deserved that. I think all the games left are very winnable, but have to have consistency on defense and for the offensive side. Yeah, you just got to play better. Just got to play better. Have to ask your thoughts on James Franklin. You weren't too keen about it on Twitter. Feels like the Florida firing Dan Mullen, a little $50 million buyout's insane. I feel like I'm going insane when I don't care who the opponents are. I could not possibly care less. They made the playoff. SMU and Boise State made the playoff. Well, they didn't play anybody in the playoff. Alabama lost to a very bad Oklahoma team by 3 touchdowns last year. Stop. I don't want to hear that. SMU made the playoff. Boise State made the playoff. Those were good football teams. Both of them could have beaten last year's Oklahoma. That's for sure. Both of them could have beaten last year's Kentucky. Both of them could have beaten last year's Georgia Tech. So I don't want to hear it. They were playoff teams. And would they have gotten through an SEC schedule? Probably not. But those were good football teams. And James Franklin's Penn State beat both of them in the playoffs. And 10 months later, he's getting fired. They won 13 games last year, won double-digit games 3 years in a row. And he gets fired 10 months later. Even if you think that was the right decision, it's still insane to think about. It's crazy that 10 months after winning 13 games and 2 playoff games, a coach gets fired. That's insane. And I know he's very easy to dislike and rubs a lot of people the wrong way. It's a heck of a job. Penn State's a really, really, really good football job. And their candidate list is going to be fascinating. But man, if I'm Virginia Tech, I'm kicking the tires. I mean, if he even wants to coach with that buyout on James Franklin. Look at what he did at Vanderbilt. And no, his record against top 10 teams, not good. But he's a good football coach that can help a program like a Virginia Tech win games more consistently than they currently do. Despite the off-the-field stuff being at absolute best slimy at Vanderbilt. Look at his games record there. That was before the portal era. Not many coaches in college football could have done what he did at Vanderbilt. There's good coaching left in him. Really think 1-1 is doable and maybe the most likely in these next two games. They are perfectly capable of it. They absolutely are capable of it. And Oklahoma now suddenly looks a lot different than I thought it would be. I know Mateer's still healing from that thumb, but they cannot run the football, guys. They've played 3 Power 4 teams and averaged 2 yards per carry against the 3 of them. They can't run the football. And I think some coming back down to earth has happened in Soonerland right now. Can't remember who said this, but teams are going to play a few bad games. You just hope as a fan that the bad games you play is against lesser opponents. It's inevitable. It's absolutely inevitable. Even great teams will have an off week. Elite quarterbacks have off games. It does happen. Penn State has a spoiled fan base. Most schools would kill to be in their position. They would, but those people expect championships, and he has not gotten truly close to a national championship yet. There was not a moment on Saturday I thought they were in danger of losing. Hey, even a shout out to Oscar Bird for the great punt at the end of the game. Yeah. Thoughts on Simmons' future at Ole Miss if Trinidad starts the rest of the year? I don't think he would leave, but you never know these days. If Trinidad starts every game for the rest of the year, I do not think that Austin Simmons will stick around. Could be wrong. I don't think that he would. I think it would be a mistake. But penalties are killer. Yeah, that Ole Miss is penalized too much. And then those back-to-back defensive penalties, you get off the field, you have a really bad roughing the passer. I mean, if you just don't do that, you probably blow the game open there. They've got to play smarter. Hugh Freeze has done himself in at Auburn. That felt like their best shot last night. I assume if he loses to Missouri, he is out the next day. I mean, what you saw last night was very prototypical Hugh Freeze. His team was ready. They were prepared to play. They were absolutely ready. The plan was good. And they got, even if you don't think they got screwed by the officials, that situation was weird, right? An Auburn fan thinks they should have scored. I saw Aaron Murray, I think it was, on Twitter saying that it was a fumble. Either way, the officials completely botched that because it should have been there's only 2 calls to make in that situation. Touchdown Auburn, touchdown Georgia. And neither of those things happened. I mean, it was an awful officiated game. Pathetic that the SEC continues to be indifferent about their officiating product on the field. They give lip service at media days, but they don't act in a publicly visible way to make you believe that they're actually trying to fix the issue that is officiating. But weird situation happens. Georgia gets the football. They go down and cut the lead to 7 at halftime. And watch Hugh Freeze's halftime interview. He was defeated. You could see it. His demeanor was he was defeated. And he was winning the game at halftime. And his team was playing really well. And Auburn couldn't overcome a bad break. And that is the problem with Hugh Freeze and his teams, is especially in second halves in his time at Auburn, they have not overcome bad breaks. They didn't overcome a bad break in Norman. They did not overcome a bad break last night. It's a pathetic offensive football team. And like I've been saying to you guys and on the radio show for months, this idea that he's some quarterback guru and, well, Jackson Arnold, who was awful last year for Oklahoma, is going to go to Hugh Freeze, and Hugh Freeze is going to unlock him and make him a great quarterback, even though there is no evidence to suggest that he is capable of doing so. None. There's no evidence that makes you think that he could turn what Arnold was into something special. He has not done that. This idea that he's a quarterback whisperer is not rooted in reality. So, yeah, I mean, their defense is spectacular. They've recruited well. I keep being told they have awesome wide receivers, but they don't have a quarterback that can complete a forward pass to them. And they don't have an offense that does a good enough job of getting them the football. They have one of the fastest guys in college football, and he doesn't get enough touches. It's a bad offense, and everybody should have seen that coming. Team didn't play that well in the first 2 games, and defense was terrible in the first half of the third. Play like they did against Tulane and LSU, you like their chances. Other games, not so much. No, overall, they didn't play perfect in the first 2 games, and part of that is because they had 4 interceptions in those 2 games. But offensively, they've played well every week until this one. I'll lean on 5 games of sample size versus 1 to form an opinion about a team until proven otherwise. I think they'll be fine offensively. Are we surprised that SEC officials lost control of another game? By the way, I did think the fumble was the correct call, but the Kirby Smart timeout fiasco is unacceptable. Yeah, and you can tell, and there was an Auburn safety clapping to do snap count. That was happening, and it's clear after looking at different angles that is what Kirby Smart was talking about. He was not telling them that he was not calling timeout. I think that explanation is the correct one. That he was telling them, hey, that guy clapped. Like they were trying to simulate the snap count. That's a penalty. That makes sense to me. That tracks. That is what that looks like to me. The problem is, regardless, the officials should have either forced Georgia to have a timeout or given them a delay of game, but allowing them to just have a do-over is insanity. And I don't think they're corrupt. I think that's taking it a step too far to me. That's going too far into the conspiracy rabbit hole. I don't think that officiating crew was told, hey, guys, make sure Georgia wins tonight. I don't buy that. That doesn't – what I think is going on is they're not good enough. And the game is faster. The players are bigger, stronger, and faster than they've ever been, and that gets worse and worse every year. And the entire crew are not full-time employees. They have regular day jobs, and then they go to the location on the weekends, and that's what they do. It's a side job. It's not a full-time job. And the league is about to get – so the league gets a cut of the TV deal, right? So it's distributed 17 ways. The 16 teams plus the league office gets to keep an equal share. They have enough money to invest in full-time employees for football and basketball officials. And if they do both, great. But all week long, the officials should be going to practices, getting reps, doing enhanced training. They need increased technology to help these guys. I don't think that they are corrupt. I think that they are just dealt an impossible hand that they're not good enough to play. And the indifference from the SEC office is the biggest problem. We're going to handle this internally after a statement where they incorrectly applied rules. They don't have to address the media. They don't have to talk about anything. They are protected more so than our politicians are. And I mean, it's unacceptable. The officiating product is unacceptable. I don't think it's because of corruption. I think they're just not good enough. And making them full-time employees does not just snap your fingers and solve the problem, but it certainly allows you to have more resources to make sure that what happened at Auburn doesn't happen again, because Auburn got screwed a couple of times in that game. Or at least the Kirby Smart timeout thing is a joke. That should never, ever, ever happen. And it did. And the fumble thing, that should never happen. It's a touchdown for somebody. It's a touchdown for somebody. The one outcome that was the most incorrect is the one that they landed on. It's a shame. It's an absolute shame. 2:30 kickoff? Yeah, 2:30 kickoff. It helps some. I don't think it's like this game-changing situation, though. The way some people reacted to the 2:30 kickoff was like, oh my gosh, what a difference. It's not that much of a difference. You'd prefer one over the other, but yeah, not that much of a difference. Billy Napier will likely be fired soon as well. Loss to Mississippi State will do him in, right? I think it's already over. But yes, a loss to Mississippi State would do him in. But I do think that it's over. I do, regardless. But I also don't think he's going to lose to Mississippi State this weekend either. As long as his team is still engaged, I don't think that he will. I'll say this, Texas A&M continues to look very solid. They do. That was a good game for them. Texas really exposed a lot of critiques people had about Oklahoma. Arch was pretty efficient, but Mateer was really bad. And again, Oklahoma has nothing in the run game. Things could get weird for them. Yes, quite good in the front six is Oklahoma. Pretty darn solid defensively. I mean, they only gave up 23 points, and Arch threw for 166, and they ran for 138, did Texas. But they won by 17 points. Yes, they exposed a lot of Oklahoma, and Mateer's going to get healthier, and maybe that'll help some. But I mean, Oklahoma's got to get off the mat now and go to South Carolina, and that's a desperate South Carolina team. So his hand still looked injured. It can't be 100%. You think they rushed Mateer back and it's biting them, and he struggles under pressure too? Not the best decision maker? No. He was really bad Saturday. LSU's whole stadium was pretty cleared out anyway. Hard for Lane to complain when his own. Georgia's going to be such an interesting game for Ole Miss. They're pretty far from perfect, and they start games pretty poorly, but they fight and get better as it goes. Yes, they do. Well, we'll talk about it later in the week. I do think that this is a game where Trinidad's going to have to pull the ball down and run a lot to help this offense. This year in Mississippi, a lot of grade school kids get a full week for fall break for the first time. Oh, yeah, I forgot a lot of people are moving to the more year-round schedule. That's what we have here. You gave 2 to your brother and sold the rest of your tickets. Hey, I hope you enjoyed your beach trip. You're a bad fan for not going. No, I'm kidding. Score wouldn't tell it, but LSU on offense was much better against South Carolina. Same red zone turnovers, kept it close. Yeah, and their defense is really nasty. Really nasty. So let me get that up. Yeah, Lenore Sellers, who some people think is a top 5 quarterback in the draft, which I don't see that, was held to 124 yards passing. And I mean, they ran for 193, but on 45 carries. And one of them includes, and this counts, but that Fuller 72-yard run. That counts, but absent that, they couldn't run the football either. So that was an impressive night for the LSU defense. Georgia does not pressure the quarterback well. That's something to watch on Saturday. They're going to have to throw a lot at him, I think. Don't understand why everyone is so ready to jump ship with Trinidad, because the most popular player on a football team is the backup quarterback. And remember, and Austin Simmons is extremely talented, very, very talented. And everybody spent the entire offseason talking about him. And so they, there's a lot of belief in him. Understandably so. So it's both of those things. But no, I don't think that's the right thing either. You've had 3 games, again, 3 games of really high level play. And the worst team that he's played against so far, he had an off day and suddenly he's a bum. Doesn't make sense. Watch the LSU South Carolina game and watch that defense play and tell me what he did is what is a fluke or whatever. Ole Miss doesn't beat LSU without Trinidad. It doesn't happen. Tennessee's giving up 36 points per game in SEC play so far. Yeah, Arkansas almost pulled it off, man. You should watch that game, though, and feel a little bit better about what Arkansas did to the Ole Miss defense, right? Just a little bit better anyway. Austin, thanks for the super chat, man. Really appreciate you. Yesterday scared me, but I'm crazy thinking that in retrospect, it was kind of a good thing. They faced adversity and still won. Shows them that you have to play to a standard. Yeah, it's always good to win ugly against bad teams so you can rip them to shreds in the film room and kind of humble them, I guess. Just hope Gunner doesn't run all over the defense. He is Athletic, for sure. Mike Norvell, since winning the ACC in 2023, is 5-14 overall, 1-10 in ACC play. Jeez. Fan shaming is partly because of the belief it affects recruiting. Coaches believe players want to come to a school where they have great fan support. Does it matter in the NIL era? Not as much. Yeah, and they have great fan support. It was a morning kickoff against Washington State. It's not the end of the world. So are you still on 10-2? I am still at the moment on 10-2. What's the point of firing Franklin if they're just going to go hire Rule? Irrationality. Because what does Matt Rule put on paper that tells you that he can outperform what Franklin did at Penn State? What tells you that he can outperform that? But he's just different. And after a while, people get bored almost. You crazy for thinking that yesterday was kind of a fluke? No, that was a D game for Ole Miss yesterday. Penn State is trying to do what A&M did with Jimbo, but unlike him, Franklin was actually winning a lot. Yeah. Still going to be a ton more jobs open. Auburn, Florida, UNC, Wisconsin, maybe South Carolina. I mean, this coaching carousel is already absolutely insane. It's absolutely insane. Here, let me find it. Openings right now. Right now. It's October 12th. Arkansas, I could have just kind of named this, I guess, but just to make sure. Arkansas, Oklahoma State, Oregon State, Penn State, Stanford, Virginia Tech, UCLA. All open right now. It's October 12th. It's insanity. In fairness, he never won big games at Penn State. You can say he made the playoffs and won 2 games, but let's call it what it is. Who did they beat last year? The G5 rep and SMU. Who did he beat? 2 playoff teams. They beat 2 playoff teams. I mean, I know who they are. I know who they are. But hey, here, let's flip it around. Ole Miss makes the playoff this year, and they beat UNLV and Georgia Tech. And I come on here and tell you it's not meaningful. It doesn't matter, guys. It's UNLV and Georgia Tech. What a joke. They didn't beat anybody. Yeah, they won 2 playoff games and made the semifinal, but they didn't beat anybody. Look at who they played. Imagine if I did that on here. What your reaction would be to me downplaying 2 playoff wins. You'd be furious, right? And it would be a joke for me to do that because it's 2 playoff wins. If Ole Miss gets into the playoff and beats anybody in the playoff, it's a historic win, right? Even for a program with the history of Penn State, which, by the way, not really that great. And Joe Paterno was as it turns out, bad person. So even their history is ugly. Their good history is ugly. So winning 2 playoff games is historic. Never done that before. Penn State's never won 2 playoff games before. And 10 months later, they fire him? Just be careful what you wish for when you do stuff like that. Again, I don't like him. I think I don't necessarily believe that he treats people the right way. I've not liked how he handles stuff with the media in particular. But 11-2, 10-3, 13-3 is fire. You fire him 10 months later? Okay. Josh Pate was, and you are right tonight, firing Franklin's insanity. This new college football has to have allowance for a terrible season because rosters are so thin and player turnover is huge. Yeah. He also hinted that Freeze and Napier will both be out in the next few weeks. Here, with all due respect to Pate, who, again, he comes on our radio show and he gives us quality content every time. But you can look at their records and, you don't have to hint at that. One more loss for Napier, he's gone. They've got the money raised. I mean, it's over the second he loses again. It may not happen this weekend, but if Auburn loses to Missouri at home, Hugh Freeze will not keep his job. It may not happen this weekend, but he won't keep his job. Especially considering they've got more losses coming after that, even with a weak schedule. We could have been having a conversation about one bad half if Womack doesn't commit the penalty and they just blow it open. Dumb and preventable stuff, absolutely. Yes, the SEC does have an officiating problem for sure. Auburn's performance after the fumble was a reflection on how poor Freeze's program is. So weak. I've said the same thing about South Carolina, who also got screwed on a penalty that makes no sense on a fake punt, by the way. Makes no sense at all what happened to South Carolina. None. Absolutely none. So if you didn't see it, if I remember it correctly, they snapped the ball on a fake punt. The officials claimed that they were not given the ready to play, but the official was not standing over the football anymore. Like they're standing over the ball for subs, runs away, gets behind the punter. They snap the ball, run a fake punt, and it's a penalty because apparently it made no sense at all. But I think that Shane Beamer's his sideline demeanor and the emotional aspect of how he coaches impacts the way his team plays. And the same thing with Freeze. You guys saw it at halftime. He was defeated, even though his team was winning because of what happened. The demeanor was weak, and therefore his team was. They couldn't score a point after halftime. He can't do that and then deserve to win. No kidding. Oh, I'm way behind on messages. Let me catch up. They'll lose to Missouri. I tend to think they will too. Does Ole Miss have the most level-headed fan base in football in 2025? Others are looking insane right now. Is Kirk Cinetti the current best coach in college football? Man, he's good in Indiana. Is actually bona fide this year. They were impressive at Oregon. They kicked the absolute living. I know it was only a 10-point spread, but they were so impressive at Oregon. And Oregon's, I mean, a wagon. And Alton Zoo is so difficult to play. And he takes Indiana up there and just whoops them. After he whooped Illinois. He's elite, man. He's absolutely elite. Wonder if Ole Miss is going to get embarrassed on game day again like in 2023. Please don't bring Heather McMahon back. That was embarrassing. And not for Ole Miss, but for her. I know she's a comedian, but it wasn't a touchdown for somebody. If the defensive team recovers in the end zone, it's a touchback, but it wasn't in the end zone, right? They didn't recover it in the end zone. And recovering a fumble in the end zone is a touchback? Are we sure about that? But it wasn't in the end zone anyway, right? What's going on with Perkins? He's just playing a different position. Texas and Arkansas both looking better. Do you think 6-6 is still the record for state? Going to be really tough. I don't. I think they'll get one more, 5-7. Don't think Ole Miss getting embarrassed this Saturday's in the cards. I tend to agree. I think it's a 3-outcome game. No, I think it's a 2-outcome game. I don't think either team will blow out this one. It's a close win for Ole Miss, close win for Georgia. I don't think a blowout's in the cards here. Georgia line's around 6.5. It rose a touch after the Washington State game, but about as expected. Yeah, I would have guessed 4.5 to 5. So if you're still at 10-2, that's 0-2 in the next 2 games. Logically, yes, but I mean, this year is so interesting and volatile and whatever. I think it's more likely that they split one of these and then they'll drop one that they quote unquote shouldn't, South Carolina, Florida, or Mississippi State. Drew Aller's college career is over too. Feel bad for his injury, but I simply don't see a pro prospect with him. Yeah, I mean, he's going to get a GM fired who takes him in the first round. Curtis, you would not agree that if Ole Miss wins 2 playoff games against the equivalent of last year's Boise State and SMU, you would call them jokes. It's easy to say right now. You would not call them jokes. I don't mean to put words in your mouth, but South Florida's the best team in the G6. Man, they looked good on Friday. Yeah, Galesh is awesome. Florida just needs to go ahead and make that happen. Imagine if Kiffin had his 9-3 last year and then lost to LSU, Arkansas, and Kentucky, and Ole Miss fired him. I mean, that's sort of equivalent. I assume you making the playoffs was a joke, and Boise only made it because we forced this Cinderella G5 auto bid thing. Those weren't playoff teams. I disagree with Boise State. I argue that SMU should not have gotten in. I think Boise State showed well. I mean, they went to Oregon and lost by a touchdown, played them tough as hell, and I think their appearance in the playoff was worthy of the spot. If they'd have gotten beat by, 35 or whatever, I'd agree, but I think they played well. What's Beamer's buyout? Let's see. Shane Beamer buyout on Google. Okay, this isn't right. No, this is the his leaves buyout. His leaving buyout is $28 million. There it is. $28 million. Gosh, what a racket. What an absolute racket. Got a system now where the 30th best team gets into the playoffs and the 10th best team doesn't. Point me to the year where the 30th best team would have made the playoff. The G5 team is ranked. Often, I think it's about half the time, they're ranked in the top 12 anyway. So it's not that egregious. Should we be worried about Kiffin's name popping up again? I mean, it will pop up again. So it's just going to. And if so, which job would actually make sense for him to take? None that will come open this year, I don't think. I guess unless things get weird late, but I don't. Here, old takes exposed me. I don't think the Florida thing is going to happen. I think there's a very small handful of places that you would have to worry about, and I don't think any of the small handful are going to come open in this cycle. But it is it's an obnoxious thing that you guys have to deal with, and I know there's a few State fans in here. You had to deal with it with Mullen, but I think right now you don't got to worry about it. Don't worry about it unless you've been given a reason to. And right now, you're good. If they're 10-1 and lose in Starkville, they'll still make the playoff, though. Ole Miss also wouldn't fire Kiffin after a bad loss a year later. No, they would not. You say Boise State did not play well last year. I mean, Penn State was a good football team, too. They were good. So just kind of, man, they had 400 yards of offense. Madsen threw for 300. He had 3 interceptions. But Genty had over 100 yards rushing in that game, too, against possibly the best defensive front in the game. I see that differently. I don't think Boise State was undeserving of their playoff spot last year. Penn State's defense was really, really freaking good. I think it was fine that they made it. The problem was that they were given the bye. That was the issue, and they fixed that. That was an issue, and I agree with you there. They did not deserve a bye. But to be the 12 seed in a playoff, they earned that. They absolutely earned that. If they didn't, then what's the point of even playing the games? Just hand Alabama the playoff spot if Boise State didn't belong. Here, 9-3 Alabama, who lost to Oklahoma and Vanderbilt. Just throw them in. Alabama probably would have lined up and beat Boise State last year, but are we sure? Because they couldn't beat Oklahoma. If things get sideways for Oklahoma, Brent Venables might have some heat. Yeah. They desperately need to beat South Carolina. That back half of the schedule is nasty, and I don't think they're going to. I do not think they're going to. Wouldn't be surprised if Michigan comes open too. Yeah, Penn State, Boise State was a 3-point game in the fourth quarter. I'm taking crazy pills here. Boise State was fine. Their inclusion in the playoff was fine. SMU, I will agree with you. I argued against their inclusion. I didn't like it. I don't think they belonged. I didn't think they belonged. Boise State, I think they belonged. SMU did not belong. And now, SMU is why I hate the automatic bid thing. The automatic bid thing is awful. It's horrendous. It makes no sense at all. James Franklin got fired today. Are you mad and angry about this? No. Well, what would I be? And I saw some people, some media guys like, oh, you shouldn't celebrate a guy losing his job. It's not us. Man, if I lost my job, that's devastating, okay? It's horrible. I don't know how I'd provide if I lost my job. I don't get a $50 million buyout. Like it would be the worst thing in the world if I lost it would be horrible. James Franklin is getting $50 million. Oh, you should feel bad, or I feel bad for. What do you feel bad about? He's getting $50 million. Fire me for $50 million. I put a tattoo across my chest like I got fired. I'd put an expletive right across my chest for $50 million. You guys, I would let you guys name whatever goes on. I can wear shirts at the beach, okay, for $50 million. I'd be fine. That thing would be covered up forever. Oh, you shouldn't celebrate somebody losing their job. It's not one of us. I would never celebrate one of you losing your job. I would hope you would never celebrate me losing my job, although I have seen some of that. People celebrating media guys losing their job. So I guess it's part of the business, right? But James Franklin now has the best job in the world, a fired football coach. I appreciate you guys. We've gone for an hour, so I'm going to go ahead and hang it up. A lot of previewing this week for the Georgia game, a whole metric ton, and I'm excited to do it. This is what we do this for. Games like this, weeks like this, we're going to have a good time, and I hope you guys have a good time, and I hope you guys have a great rest of your night, and I will talk to you hopefully on the radio show tomorrow, but I will talk to you guys on Tuesday. See you then.